had thoughts about not being able to control the frequency with which these messages are sent. So, how do you feel about us controlling the frequency with which these messages are sent? Would it be more? Yeah, I'm gonna stop there. How do you feel about that?
Like based on what? Like based on how much we have sex, or
No. No. So we're just gonna remind everybody once a month, get tested. I'm gonna remind everybody once a week to add in any information that they might have to their diary regarding their sexual partners.
I like that it's already set, because then it's like a constant reminder, because sometimes people get lazy and if they like want to set it to whatever, or if they like, let's say they forget to set it or whatnot. I like that we remind them, that way they know, like, okay, hey, I have to go get tested. Like, repetition, you're gonna remember in my eyes. If I constantly do something, I'm gonna constantly remember to do it. But if I see it every so often, or if I'm able to set it every so often, I'm a lazy person. So if I'm able to put snooze or set my alarms to whatever, I'm gonna do it. So I like that it's already set in there for us, because I feel like the repetition helps with you to remember.
Okay.
change it, right?
I'm sorry, what?
You can change whatever gives you reminders, or
Yes, so you could change the day of the week that the message is sent out, and the time of day, and what the message says, or sort of how it reads on your phone.
But you're still going to get a message every week to update. Like,
Yeah, but you'll still get a message every week. There's no way to like stop or opt out at present.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's very personalized, like you say, put like certain emotions on the app where you get to set it like personalized.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you speak up?
Oh, I was just mentioning that you can actually personalize your own message, make it
Okay, so you like to be you like to have the ability to customize what your message says, right?
Yeah.
The whole point of that is to give you as much confidentiality as possible. I know that people generally don't leave their phones down for any amount of time ever, but in the event that somebody is being nosy or peering over your shoulder, that notification comes through. Nobody with wandering eyes who have to be peering over your shoulder can see what that message is saying. Cool. Are there any other comments about the reminders? No. Cool. Let's talk Sex Pro. So I'm just gonna do a quick refresher. Sex Pro stands for Sexual Protection Score. And so we're going to ask you a series of questions, and then based on your responses to those questions, Sex Pro will give you a score that ranges from 1 to 20 that tells you how protected you are against contracting HIV, or how good of a job you're doing at protecting yourself against HIV. I want everybody to pick up where they left off and complete Sex Pro if they haven't. Okay? And as a reminder, you are welcome to calculate your score based on your actual sexual behavior, but you could also just put in dummy information. It's your call. And Ryan or Pedro, can you just let me know when everyone's done and we'll pick up?
Changes based on the way you answer it. The score changes based on the way you answer it, so the answers may be different. I just skipped all the way through it. I don't really
It says you're deep in the red, but try getting into green is easier. Do you think prep is a great way? Like, I know this out over something else on prep.
The list of drugs here are super small.
What? It's a very great.
But it's very super short. What if somebody wants to know that one be done?
Anyone else can see my thing. So locals and subconscious, yes, I did want to you.
There you go, change economics.
You know, nobody almost says water, so that's me. I'll take mine. Do you want razor or carbon? Oh yeah, sorry.
Has everybody had a chance to get a Sex Pro score? No?
I went to my settings and put that I'm on prep, and I went to go 1 to 16.
If you go to your settings, where? Click on the head.
Yeah, the little head in the top right,
It doesn't say anything about prep.
and then go all the way down, like,
Oh, it's an edit account.
yeah, am I taking pre-exposure?
Oh, that didn't pop up earlier in onboarding. Did you know that, Kenneth?
What?
Did you know that, Kenneth?
Did I know what?
That prep, the prep, are you taking prep doesn't pop up on onboarding?
That it did or did not?
Did not.
Is that only on Android or is that on iOS as well?
I think he has an iPhone.
Yeah, I have an iPhone. I don't
So the
remember.
question about prep did not pop up on Android.
Or any of ours.
Okay, I did not know that.
I just changed it now though in my settings, and like it updated my Sex Pro score and everything.
Sorry. So you weren't asked during the initial onboarding, but when you went to settings, you moved that toggle and indicated that you were on prep, and then your score changed. Yes, I did know that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And the reason for that is because this is a research study, you won't be eligible if you are already on prep. So there's no reason to ask you when you are setting up. However, we want that to change while you're in the study, so we give you that option. Mhm.
What?
So hearing people's reactions to Sex Pro is always interesting. So I'm going to ask a very general question. How do you feel about answering those questions, and how do you feel about your score?
I don't mind it.
I'm fine. It's accurate. It's okay now.
Okay, so it's fine. Somebody feels like it's accurate. Other thoughts?
I don't feel like the questions like are too much. I feel like they're good questions to ask. I don't feel like offended or anything when answering them. I'm not like, oh crap.
Okay.
Like, but it's just you and your honesty.
Okay, so we didn't make you cry. That's also a good thing. And hopefully nobody felt embarrassed or ashamed. And if you did, please let me know. That's like really important for us to hear. So when taking Sex Pro, people, I give this spiel where I say, yeah, your score could be anywhere between 1 and 20. What often happens is that people overestimate their score. And so they're just like, oh yeah, I want to be 16. And then they get it, and then it's not a 16. You know, in many cases, it's not even a 6. And people have feelings about that, which is understandable. Is that anybody's case? Is anybody surprised by the score that they received?
First, yes.
So can you tell me why you're surprised?
Well, because I knew it was just like using a test flight, so I just pretty much set up knowing that I was just gonna rush through it. So, what my expectation was, I'm gonna at least score at least above a 5.
Uh-huh.
The result was just like all the way in the red.
Mm-hmm. And so you are in the red, and other people might like in the room might be in the red. You are definitely not the first person to be in the red. When you saw that, what did you like? What was your gut reaction?
My normal sex growth score is 14.
Uh-huh.
In other studies, so I'm like, what's changing now? Even though I knew that, just rushed through it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking, oh, what answers that I put on the 14 that I didn't put on the 1?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're trying to figure out what behavior change just you like what numbers you put in that maybe affected your score or made it drop.
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious about your perceptions of accuracy. Do you feel like the score that you got is accurate? And if yes, can you tell me yes? And if no, can you also tell me why you don't think it's accurate?
No, I don't think it's accurate because like I was just like going through and I put like on 100% of the time, and like I messed around and did some other stuff that was like more risky or whatever, but I still got like a 1, which just doesn't make sense if like you're using condoms which are like protection. Like if you think it'd be above a 1.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I think we scored a 1 and use condoms. I swear about that, and I haven't even done it.
Okay. And so now that you know that, like somebody reported using condoms all of the time and then put in some risky other stuff and got a 1, but somebody reported that they didn't use condoms and got a score higher than a 1. I'm going to reiterate that question. Do you feel like this is accurate?
No.
So you double down, the person who just spoke, you double down on saying like, no, this is not accurate. Other people, how do you feel? Do you think it's accurate or no?
Well, in all honesty, I don't remember what I put the first time I did it.
Uh-huh.
I logged in, and my account was already set, so it logged me right in. And I looked at my sex pro score, and it was at a 1. But then I went to my settings and I was on prep, and then it went up to a 16. So at first I was like, well, like I shouldn't be at a 1. But now that it's up at a 16, I'm like, okay, that's where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I deserve to be at a 16, but I'm happy that I'm at a 16, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this, excuse me. We wanted to give people a snapshot of the risk that they're taking. And risk isn't limited to sexual activity, right? Or just condom use, better yet. There are other things that put us at a risk for contracting HIV or STIs that we might not think about. For instance, drinking and drug use, and in particular, using substances like meth, or sort of crack or cocaine. Those sort of drugs lower people's inhibitions, and so when they're under the influence, they are more likely to engage in more risky behavior, right? And so even if somebody does report condom usage, that doesn't mean that they haven't done other things to put themselves at risk for contracting HIV. And this probably explains the discrepancy between your two scores. Does that make sense? You are not buying it. You in the sweater, you are not buying it.
I'm sorry.
No, and yeah, I want to hear why you aren't buying it. But I'm sorry, can you go, gray sweater? Yes.
There's only 4 drug questions.
Uh-huh.
Right? There's like alcohol, poppers, meth, and then crack and cocaine.
Yep.
Right? But those are 4. How can you tell someone's risky use? Like most people usually do weed or weed laced with like other things.
Right. So there are tons of drugs, right? So if we ask people about all the drugs they could have possibly done, that list would just be crazy. And so we had to zoom in on the drugs that have been shown to lower inhibitions, and also, excuse my way of saying this, increase horniness, and also drugs that have been shown to be associated with increased risk for contracting HIV. And so we know that those substances that we pointed out meet all of those criteria. And so that's why you don't see weed. Yeah, like for some people, weed acts as like an aphrodisiac, right? People become horny. But however, that's usually not the case. People usually want to veg out and eat a lot and then go to sleep. So you wouldn't see something like that on the list. And we can't account for all the ways in which drugs can be laced with other substances. Because once again, that's just an impossibly long list of things to consider.
I could think of a few substances though that like I have friends that have used and like it totally lowered their inhibitions and they totally like regretted what they did when they were on it, but that weren't on the list.
Huh. I'm curious as to what those substances are.
Okay, so I got some crazy friends. So one friend was at a party and they did weed that lowered their inhibition. Another friend was at a party and they told me this. Yeah, but they were doing acid or something, like some gummy bear or some crap. That they wanted to like bone everyone in the room.
Okay.
Those are just things that popped in my head.
Okay. That's not one of the substances that I thought you were gonna say. And so in general, when people do Molly, right, they just want to dance and hug everybody, and they need to drink water because we don't want them to be dehydrated. And when people do acid, generally speaking, they see sort of hallucinations. They have these like acid trips. But for most people, these drugs don't make them horny, or it doesn't sort of lower their inhibitions, which is why they wouldn't be on the list.
Okay.
Right, so it's like these are kind of outlier experience. Like, yeah, there are a couple of people who might meet this criteria of having lower inhibitions, but generally speaking, when people use those two drugs, that's not something that we see.
Okay.
And so, I'm sorry. Back to my man with the two-tone sweater who is not convinced. Tell me why you're not convinced.
I'm not convinced because you're saying it's like a snapshot of your wrist, right?
Yes.
So it just seems like counterintuitive to be like, oh, you can be on PrEP and it'll like up your score, but if you're using condoms like 100% of the time, how is that not going to up your score like at all?
So using condoms 100% of the time does help your score.
When I put it in.
The issue is the other activities that were reported. That will lower your score. And they can have a profound effect depending on how much somebody is engaging with various substances. So how often somebody is doing meth, how often somebody's drinking, how much they're consuming each time that they drink.
I still got a good score, but I drink a lot, and I drink a lot.
Okay, we're gonna run some tests on the Android version to make sure that calculator is working correctly.
Get it back, because I'm failing right now.
Okay, so you put in some like really high, some things that might be considered high risk, and you still have a pretty good score.
I got a good ass score.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Has good ass score. Has good. That's like in my official notes.
Kenneth.
Uh huh.
Right. I think what Justin is saying, the sweater guy,